Well, Sunday morning on our way to church. On our way to church. For those who don't know, I am definitely a firm believer in Jesus Christ after my experience. Something that I, definitely began doing as a youth, but got away from, unfortunately. That's a big part of the reason why my life took the turn that it took. One thing that God, I believe, was trying to do during the course of my incarceration was get me reconciled to Him. And He was definitely able to do that through my experience. And I'm very, very grateful for that. This morning, there was a incident. You were asking me about something that had taken place with a family member a number of years back. And the conversation, kind of came to an abrupt end, and that was based on something, my response to it. A little while later, I was in the restroom getting myself together for church, and I realized, man, you're talking to your daughter, your precious daughter. But one thing I wanted you to understand is that people in the military are not the only ones who go through some form of PTSD. Prisoners, especially long-term offenders, we go through a process. We go through a process, and that process involves us recognizing and realizing, that we're back in the free world. We're back in society. Everybody's not hard. Everybody's not walking around trying to act tough. Everybody's not a killer. Everybody's sensitive in different ways. In prison, I become accustomed to, obviously, being around a lot of men, who could care less, about you, what you think, what you thought, and you can be friends one day and foes the next. Meaning you can have these guys will be friends with you, or at least pretend they are, one day, and the next minute, they'll be trying to stab you in the back. And I'm still working through that. I'm still trying to get my mind focused and fixated on the fact that I'm back in the free world. A lot of things that I used to utilize, to maintain my edge, or even as a coping mechanism, I don't need those coping mechanisms no more. I don't need those vices anymore. I just need to just be relaxed, humble myself in every situation, and realize that, I don't need to be as sensitive to words. I don't need to catch a complex or something when somebody's asking me a question. Like when you said earlier, you just said, Dad, I'm just asking you this because I'm trying to get to know you better. I thought about that, and I realized, you're absolutely correct. You are trying to get to know me better. I'm trying to get to know you better. While trying to get reacclimated back into this society. I was about to say general population, but it is general population. But it's not easy. But it's a project. I'm a work in progress, taking one day at a time. I'm not paranoid around people at all. It's just sometimes when I get bombarded with questions, my defense mechanism automatically springs up. It's just something that I became accustomed to during the course of my incarceration, because people will try to probe you to try and get you to, respond a certain way or try to elicit certain information from you. And it's not because they care about you. It's because normally they just want something from you. So I just try to, I have to differentiate. I have to leave the past in the past and move forward. And I just want to apologize to you for my tone this morning, because it was not my intent. I had to realize that I'm talking to my daughter. I'm not talking to one of the guys on the yard. I'm not talking to one of the officers. I'm not talking to somebody that's an authority figure over me. So definitely wanted you to, understand me and feel where I was coming from. And that's, something that I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with my post-prison experience. And a lot of things are not just going to happen for me overnight. I've had a wonderful weekend thus far with you and the grandkids. And I definitely didn't want it to take a turn. I wanted you to be able to understand where I was coming from. That's the purpose of this particular video this morning, because I wanted you to understand where I was coming from.
Thank you. I do want to say something. You said you used different vices while you were in there. I guess coping mechanisms. What exactly did you do?
Well, I mean, for one, it's kind of like in the military, so to speak, where you learn to be evasive. You learn psychology. Mainly, you learn reverse psychology, because most guys, when they're talking to you, they're using some form of psychology. So you learn reverse psychology. I'm very observant. I'm very vigilant of what's going on around me, who's moving around me, and what may be their motive for asking me certain questions. So automatically, my defenses, come up. My senses are heightened, and I'm on like high alert for manipulation. I'm on high alert for someone trying to elicit a certain response from me. I'm on high alert for anyone that's maybe trying to work me or handle me, so to speak, psychologically. Because I've been in there and I've listened to BS from people in close quarters for over 3 decades, people from all over the world. So I've seen it all, I've heard it all, and it's easy for me to recognize it. But I need to realize that I'm not in there anymore. People in society, for the most part, are not that way. They're coming to you, they're being genuine, and they're being caring and kind and concerned and considerate about your where you are at that particular time, your mental state, your emotional state, like it's like your spiritual state even. So it's just I need to become more and more aware of how I'm conducting myself, how I'm perceiving certain situations, because every situation doesn't call for me to automatically assume that someone is trying to cut into me somehow with some sort of an angle, because that's what I become accustomed to, someone trying to whether it's coming to my cell door asking me for something, or trying to trade something for something, or trying to just look and see what's going on, or ask what's going on in the yard, or what's going on with the blacks, what's going on with administration. I mean, you deal with a lot of stressful situations, but it is all about perception, how you perceive those situations. And that's something I learned. Working out, exercise was definitely one of the methods and the means that I would use to to deal with stress, to cope with anxiety. But reading, meditation, a little bit of yoga. I'm not that limber, but it's a little bit of this meditation for the most part. Years ago, when I was in my youth, I used to take my basketball and go around to the park, and I would just sit out there and shoot baskets by myself. Sometimes at night, just to think things through. Matter of fact, that's what I was doing at the time you were born. Opposed to going to the hospital, I went out there to the park with my basketball to go get my thoughts together, because the realization of fatherhood was coming full circle, and I needed to be ready. I knew I had 9 months to get ready, but that I wasn't ready. I may have passed out when he was born had I been in the room. So that's just how little I knew. About childbirth. So it was just one of those situations where I just wanted to just go and separate myself and get my thoughts together. So in prison, I would just fall back, pull back, whether it was not going to the yard and all that noise and traffic and who's talking about who, and being concerned with who has a knife on them and all this other stuff. I would just separate myself and get my thoughts together as often as I could and try to work, stay busy. That's what I was doing in prison, try to stay as busy as possible. So by staying busy, that helped me be able to, deal with everything that was being thrown at me. And over the course of time, course of years, it became more and more easier to recognize, BS. You could see it coming a mile away. You were able to tell the guys who were, on a positive track and the guys who were not. So it wasn't, it wasn't a mystery being able to, continue to move forward. It wasn't a mystery to be able to, separate yourself. So, and a lot of men do it. They do it in different ways. Of course, we don't all have the same mentality. Ideally, it's just a point of us just being able to just cope, figure things out, and navigate around things. So, with that, on my way to church. Praise the Lord, and you guys have a peaceful, blessed day yourselves. And when opportunity presents itself again for more dialogue. Cute little dog. I see you. I'm still trying to get used to dogs too, y'all. My daughter them got 2 dogs, and I be looking at them like they police dogs,
That's
me,
nice.
put your hands up. I'm waiting on them to tell me get against the wall. So.
Oh wow, I didn't even think about that.
No, you didn't think about that. Especially that German Shepherd you guys got. You look just like a police dog. When I've been watching attack people on the TV all these years, look like Cujo to me. Anyway, talk to you next time.
You said that, Dad, because I was about to get you a bus ticket, take you home today.
Take me home? What do you mean take me home?
Don't take him home.
Well, if you didn't apologize, because you did hurt my feelings this morning, that's why I stopped talking to you.
Well, I didn't actually realize that I hurt your feelings, but in the event I had, that was the reason why I said what I said earlier on this recording. Because I wanted you to understand what was filtering through my brain at the time. So no offense would be taken as a result of what I had to say.
Well, I definitely appreciate that. That took a lot of maturity, and as you would call it, discernment.
Absolutely. And you can't beat that with a bat.